115. The Xiongnu proclaims himself Emperor of Han. In the same year that Li Xiong declared himself King of Chengdu, 304 AD, the Xiongnu noble Liu Yuan also declared independence from Jin and proclaimed himself King of Han. Since the late Western Han period, some Xiongnu groups had dispersed and settled in the remote northern frontier counties of China. After living alongside the Han Chinese for generations, they gradually adopted Han culture. The Xiongnu nobility considered themselves relatives of the Han imperial family due to multiple intermarriages with Han princesses. As a result, they began using the surname Liu, the family name of the Han emperors. After unifying northern China, Cao Cao divided the Xiongnu into 5 tribal divisions, each under a commander. One of these commanders was the Xiongnu noble Liu Bao. Liu Yuan, the son of Liu Bao, was well educated in Han literature from a young age. He was also exceptionally strong, skilled in martial arts, and capable of pulling a 300-pound war bow. After Liu Bao's death, Liu Yuan inherited his father's position. Later, he served as a general under Prince Sima Ying of Chengdu, one of the 8 princes, and was stationed in Yi City, commanding the 5 divisions of Xiongnu troops under Jin rule. During the War of the 8 Princes, some Xiongnu nobles gathered in Zhuge City, in present-day northern Lisha, Shaanxi, to discuss their situation. An elderly Xiongnu noble declared, "From the time of the Han dynasty, we Xiongnu have been brothers with the Han people. Yet, throughout the Wei and Jin dynasties, the descendants of the Xiongnu Chanyu, supreme rulers, have been granted only empty noble titles, without any real land of their own, making them no different from commoners. Now, with the Jin dynasty engulfed in civil war and tearing itself apart, this is the perfect opportunity for us to reclaim our rightful status." The others agreed with his reasoning. But who should lead them? After much discussion, they concluded that Liu Yuan was the most capable and respected candidate. They decided to make him Chanyu, supreme ruler of the Xiongnu. The nobles sent an envoy to Yi City to inform Liu Yuan of their decision and invite him back. Delighted, Liu Yuan requested leave from Prince Sima Ying, citing the need to return home to conduct his father's funeral rites. However, Sima Ying refused to let him go. Unable to leave immediately, Liu Yuan sent the envoy back with instructions for the 5 Xiongnu divisions to assemble and begin moving south. Soon afterward, Sima Tang, the governor of Bingju, and General Wang Jun formed an alliance with the Xianbei tribes and launched an attack on Prince Sima Ying. Defeated, Sima Ying fled to Luoyang. With his authority weakened, Liu Yuan finally persuaded him to let him return home under the pretense of gathering Xiongnu troops to reinforce his army. Liu Yuan proclaims himself King of Han. In 304 AD, upon reaching Zhuge City, Liu Yuan was officially recognized as Great Chanyu by his followers. He gathered an army of 50,000 troops and personally led them south to assist the Jin dynasty in fighting the Xianbei. Some questioned why he would help the Jin rather than overthrow them immediately. Liu Yuan explained, "Destroying the Jin dynasty would be as easy as breaking rotten wood. However, the common people may not support us just yet. I believe the Han dynasty, having lasted the longest, still holds great influence among the people. Moreover, our ancestors were brothers to the Han emperors. Now that the Han dynasty has perished, if we claim to be its rightful successor, we may be able to win the people's hearts." The nobles agreed with his strategy. Liu Yuan then proclaimed himself King of Han, positioning himself as the legitimate heir to the Han dynasty. The rise of the Han Zhao state. After declaring himself King of Han, Liu Yuan quickly conquered the commanderies of Shandong, Taiyuan, Hedong, and Pingyuan, expanding his influence. Many smaller anti-Jin factions among various ethnic groups also joined his cause. In 308 AD, Liu Yuan formally declared himself Emperor of Han and established his own imperial court. The following year, he moved his capital to Pingyang, modern Linfen, Shaanxi, and began concentrating his forces to attack Luoyang, the Jin capital. Although the people of Luoyang despised the corrupt Western Jin regime, they also did not wish to be ruled by the Xiongnu. As a result, when Liu Yuan's forces attacked the city twice, the Jin army and the civilian population put up fierce resistance, forcing Liu Yuan to retreat. Meanwhile, the last of the 8 princes, Prince Sima Yu of Donghai, was still embroiled in political strife with his court officials. Jin's remaining military strength was being rapidly depleted in internal conflicts. The fall of Luoyang and the capture of Emperor Huai. After Liu Yuan's death, his son Liu Cong succeeded him as emperor. He appointed General Liu Yao and General Shi Le to continue the assault on Luoyang. The city's defenders fought valiantly but were heavily outnumbered. In 311 AD, Luoyang finally fell. Emperor Huai of Jin was captured. When Liu Cong entered Luoyang, he ordered a mass execution of Jin officials and civilians. On one occasion, he held a banquet and forced Emperor Huai to wear a servant's blue robe and pour wine for the guests. Some surviving Jin officials, unable to bear the humiliation, burst into tears. Seeing that the Jin officials still remained loyal to Emperor Huai, Liu Cong grew furious and ordered his execution. The fall of Chang'an and the end of the Western Jin. After Emperor Huai's death, the remaining Jin officials in Chang'an crowned his nephew, Sima Yi, as Emperor Minute of Jin. However, in 316 AD, Liu Cong's forces captured Chang'an. Emperor Minute suffered the same fate as Emperor Huai. He was humiliated and later executed. With his death, the Western Jin dynasty, having lasted only 52 years, was completely destroyed. The era of the 16 kingdoms. Following the fall of Western Jin, the northern regions of China erupted in widespread uprisings among various ethnic groups, primarily the Xiongnu, Xianbei, Jie, Di, and Qiong. Their ruling elites took advantage of the chaos to establish their own independent regimes. Between 304 and 439 AD, a total of 16 independent states emerged in northern China, a period known in history as the 16 Kingdoms, formerly called 5 Barbarians and 16 Kingdoms, where Hu was an ancient term used for non-Han ethnic groups. 116. Awakening to the Call of the Rooster. During the time when Xiongnu nobles ravaged the northern territories and the Western Jin dynasty was on the verge of collapse, some loyal and ambitious generals remained steadfast in their resistance. Among them, Liu Kuan stood out as a remarkable leader. As a young man, Liu Kuan had a close friend named Zhu Ti. During the early years of the Western Jin dynasty, they both served as record keepers in Xizhou, with its administrative center in present-day northeast Luoyang. At night, they would share the same bed, engaging in long discussions about state affairs, often talking until deep into the night. One night, while they were fast asleep, a sudden crowing of a rooster startled Zhu Ti awake. He looked outside the window and saw a waning moon hanging in the sky, while the eastern horizon remained dark. Zhu Ti decided not to return to sleep. Instead, he nudged Liu Kuan with his foot. As Liu Kuan rubbed his eyes and groggily asked what was happening, Zhu Ti said, "Listen. That is not an ominous sound, it is urging us to rise." The two of them happily got up, took down the swords hanging on the wall, and stepped outside. Under the faint glow of the early morning light, they began practicing swordplay. From then on, they diligently trained in martial arts and studied military strategy every day. Eventually, both of them became famous generals. Liu Kuan's struggles in Bingju. In 308 AD, Emperor Huai of Jin appointed Liu Kuan as the governor of Bingju. At that time, Bingju was in chaos due to constant raids by Xiongnu forces. The local population was either massacred or had fled. Liu Kuan, leading just over 1,000 soldiers, braved countless dangers to reach Jinyang, present-day southwest Taiyuan, Shaanxi. Upon arriving at Jinyang, he found the city in ruins, its houses burned down, the streets overgrown with thorny weeds, and a pervasive air of desolation. The few survivors he encountered were emaciated and on the verge of starvation. Liu Kuan was deeply saddened by this sight. He immediately ordered his soldiers to clear the overgrown thickets, bury the corpses, and begin restoring the city's walls and buildings. He personally led his men in defending the city against Xiongnu attacks. Additionally, he devised strategies to sow discord among the Xiongnu tribes, making them suspicious of each other. His efforts eventually led to over 10,000 Xiongnu warriors defecting to his side, even causing Liu Yuan, the ruler of Hanzhou, to hesitate in attacking him. Liu Kuan also encouraged displaced civilians to return and cultivate the abandoned farmlands. Within a year, the once devastated city of Jinyang had begun to thrive again. Roosters crowed and dogs barked, signs of life returning to normal. Resisting the Hanzhou and later defeat. After Liu Cong captured Luoyang, the Western Jin's military presence in the north was almost entirely wiped out. Only Liu Kuan continued to resist in the Bingju region. When Emperor Minute of Jin ascended the throne in Chang'an, he formally appointed Liu Kuan as Grand General and placed him in command of military affairs in Bingju. At that time, Shi Le, a Hanjiao general, had stationed a massive force in Xianghua, present-day southwest Xingtai, Hebei, with plans to capture Bingju. Liu Kuan found himself in a dire situation. Facing Liu Cong's forces in the south and Shi Le's army in the north, he was caught between two powerful enemies. Despite the overwhelming odds, Liu Kuan refused to surrender or retreat. In a memorial to Emperor Minute, he declared, "I am irreconcilable with Liu Cong and Shi Le. If I do not destroy them, I will never return to court." The legendary roar from the city walls. One time, Jinyang was completely surrounded by Xiongnu cavalry. The city's defenses were weak, and the soldiers inside were too few to repel the enemy. The people were gripped with fear, but Liu Kuan remained composed. At dusk, he climbed to the top of the city walls and let out a long, mournful howl under the moonlight, his voice filled with grief and resolve. The Xiongnu warriors, hearing this sorrowful sound, were deeply moved, and some even sighed along with him. Later that night, Liu Kuan ordered his men to play melodies on the hu jiao, a reed instrument used by the nomadic tribes, playing Xiongnu tunes to evoke their longing for their homeland. The haunting melodies stirred deep emotions among the enemy soldiers, bringing them to tears. By dawn, as the melancholic sound of the hu jiao resonated again from the city walls, the Xiongnu soldiers, overwhelmed with nostalgia, scattered and retreated on their own. The final battle and retreat to Yuzhou. Liu Kuan later attempted to ally with the Xianbei chieftains to launch a counterattack against Liu Cong, but the plan failed. Soon after, Shi Le launched an attack on Leping, present-day southwest Xiang, Shaanxi. Liu Kuan sent reinforcements, but they fell into an ambush set by Shi Le's elite forces and were nearly annihilated. At the same time, news arrived that Chang'an had fallen to Liu Cong. At this point, no matter how determined Liu Kuan was, he could no longer hold Bingju. He was forced to retreat with his remaining troops and flee to Yuzhou, present-day Beijing and its surrounding areas. Despite his unyielding spirit and repeated efforts to restore Jin's northern defenses, Liu Kuan's fight ultimately ended in defeat, marking another chapter in the tragic collapse of the Western Jin dynasty. 117. The Wang and Sima families rule together. After Liu Cong captured Chang'an, the southern regions of China remained under the control of Jin officials. Before Emperor Minute of Jin was taken prisoner, he left an imperial edict designating Prince Sima Rui of Langya, modern pronunciation, Rui, who was stationed in Jiankang, formerly Jianye, present-day Nanjing, Jiangsu, as his successor. Sima Rui was not particularly prestigious within the Western Jin imperial family. During the reign of Emperor Huai of Jin, he had been sent to govern the south. Accompanying him was a group of northern aristocratic officials, the most prominent among them being Wang Dao. Sima Rui trusted Wang Dao completely and considered him a close confidant. However, when Sima Rui first arrived in Jiankang, the powerful southern aristocratic landowners looked down on him due to his low status and refused to visit him. This made Sima Rui uneasy, so he asked Wang Dao to devise a solution. A display of authority. Wang Dao had a cousin, Wang Dun, who was then serving as the governor of Yangzhou and held considerable power. Wang Dao invited Wang Dun to Jiankang, and together they formulated a plan. That year, on the third day of the third lunar month, Jiankang was preparing to celebrate the Shi Festival, a traditional event where both commoners and officials would gather by the river to seek blessings and ward off misfortune. On that day, Wang Dao arranged for Sima Rui to ride in a grand, ornate sedan chair to the river, preceded by an imposing ceremonial escort sounding gongs. Behind him followed Wang Dao, Wang Dun, and numerous high-ranking officials and scholars from the north, all mounted on tall, magnificent horses, forming a grand and awe-inspiring procession. The riverbank was already crowded with spectators, but when the people saw such an unprecedented spectacle, they were astonished. The influential southern aristocrats, including the renowned landowner Jiyu Rong, heard the commotion and secretly peeked through their door cracks to observe the scene. When they saw the highly respected Wang Dao and Wang Dun treating Sima Rui with such deference, they were shocked. Fearing that they had underestimated Sima Rui, they hurriedly stepped outside, lined up along the road, and formally paid their respects to him. This dramatically elevated Sima Rui's prestige among the southern aristocrats. Wang Dao then advised him, Jiyu Rong and He Zun are the most esteemed scholars of this region. If we can bring them to our side, the rest will surely follow. Sima Rui took Wang Dao's advice and personally sent Wang Dao to invite Jiyu Rong and He Zun to serve in his administration. The two scholars gladly accepted, and Sima Rui welcomed them warmly, granting them official positions. From then on, the powerful southern clans began to support Sima Rui, allowing him to establish a firm foothold in Jiankang. The unification of northern and southern aristocrats. As chaos continued in the north, many aristocratic families fled south to escape the turmoil. Wang Dao again advised Sima Rui to recruit the most distinguished among them into his administration. Following Wang Dao's strategy, Sima Rui gradually appointed 106 prominent northern aristocrats to positions in his government. By securing the loyalty of both the southern landowners and the displaced northern elites, Sima Rui strengthened his power. Grateful to Wang Dao, he once told him, "You are my Xiao He." Xiao He was a key strategist and chancellor who helped Liu Bang establish the Han dynasty. The founding of the Eastern Jin. In 317 AD, Sima Rui ascended the throne in Jiankang, re-establishing the Jin dynasty. He became known as Emperor Yuan of Jin. From that point on, the imperial capital remained in Jiankang. To distinguish it from the previous Jin dynasty founded by Emperor Wu, Sima Yang, in the north, historians refer to this new regime as the Eastern Jin. On the day of Emperor Yuan's coronation, Wang Dao and all the civil and military officials entered the palace to pay homage. To everyone's shock, Emperor Yuan, upon seeing Wang Dao, stood up from his imperial seat, grasped Wang Dao's hand, and invited him to sit on the throne alongside him to receive the officials' bows. This unexpected move left Wang Dao stunned, as such an act was completely unheard of in the rigid hierarchy of the feudal era. Panicked, he quickly declined, saying, "How could this be? If the sun were to sit among common creatures, how could they bask in its light?" This flattery pleased Emperor Yuan, who relented, but he continued to hold Wang Dao in the highest regard. He believed that his ascension to the throne was entirely due to the support of Wang Dao and his cousin Wang Dun. As a result, he granted them exceptional privileges. Wang Dao was appointed Shangshu, overseeing imperial administration, while Wang Dun was given supreme command of the military. Many other members of the Wang family also received high-ranking positions. At the time, the common people coined a saying, "The Wang and Sima families rule the empire together." This phrase reflected the immense influence that the Wang family held within the Eastern Jin government, standing almost equal to the ruling Sima clan. Growing fractures in the Eastern Jin. With his military authority, Wang Dun grew increasingly arrogant and began to disregard Emperor Yuan. Seeing Wang Dun's overbearing behavior, the emperor decided to counterbalance his power by promoting two new officials, Liu Wei and Jiao Xie. Gradually, Emperor Yuan began distancing himself from the Wang brothers. Thus, even in the early days of its establishment, internal divisions began to surface within the Eastern Jin dynasty, foreshadowing future conflicts.